sector challenges with potential solutions. It is the next webinar because this is already the third in a row. Next week there is a fourth one. And the focus, in fact, of those type of webinars is to liaise between different stakeholders and to support, in fact, the development of new innovative projects within the naval defense sector. The first webinar we had before summer was related to, it was an interactive co-creative one where we tried to foster cooperation between several stakeholders. Last week we had one on funding innovation with topics related to funding from EU, but also from NATO. And for today's webinar, we zoom into the digital transformation challenges related to the naval defense industry. So we have a packed agenda with a first part where we have two appreciated contributions. On one hand, from Jan Gacas, who is a commander senior grade from the Belgian Navy. I assume that Jan will shortly introduce himself, also referring to his naval experience and his sailing experience, I assume. And the second contribution is from the French Navy. It's Colonel Jerome Guyon, who is Deputy Director of the Fleet Support Service in Toulon, as I understood. So after those first two keynotes from Navy perspective, let's say from the demand side perspective, we will have a few questions and answers, some time which we have assigned for some interaction between everybody here around the virtual table. And then the second part of this webinar will be focused more on the supply side of the activities. So there we have three contributions from three companies. One first company is EBO Enterprises. Then we have Ennovia, and then last but not least, we have the Wiit group with Antonio. After that, we do have a short time again for discussion. So a few practical questions first. This meeting is recorded. You see on the top left side a red dot, which means that everything which will be said is recorded. If somebody has issues with this, please let us know. Then we can stop the recording and keep all the information as it is during this meeting. That's one practical question. So you can answer this question in the chat. And the second, referring to the chat, so we will have a strict timekeeping. So if you have some questions, please put it in the chat. We will go through those questions during the time allocated assigned to the question and answer. So to avoid losing too much time. So you can use the chat for remarks, questions, suggestions, and so on. So one question which I will answer already, we will share with you the presentations. So that's clear. So we have this question always. This is already an answer to this. So to give you some introduction on the LEVIATAD project and what it's all about, I give the floor to the colleagues from the Blue Cluster, either Marie or Evelyn, for this first short introduction on the project.
Thank you, Mark. I'll just very quickly go through the introduction of the LEVIATAD project, since I know a lot of people present have already been introduced in earlier webinars. But just for the people who are new here, I'll just quickly tell you what we're doing and how we're doing that. So first of all, the LEVIATAD project is a EU-funded project with the main goal being to support SMEs in entering the value chain of marine defense industry, and also in supporting European partnerships and supporting European defense technologies. And in the end, we want to arrive at a cluster of excellence for naval defense in Europe. We're not doing this alone. We're doing this with partners from Italy, from France, and from Croatia. And one of the ways we want to try and help support SMEs and foster these partnerships and these new defense technologies is through these webinars. So I know a lot of people were already present in our previous webinar on the 20th of September. This webinar was focused on access and funding and financing for SMEs. If you are interested and you were not present at this webinar, please send me an email. I can give you the link to the full recording of the webinar, and I can give you the slides. Then, of course, we have the webinar of today focusing on digital transformation and naval defense industry. I hope you will enjoy it. I hope it will be interesting for all of you. And then lastly, next week, we also have a webinar focusing on cross-border collaborations in the naval defense industry, in the hopes of showing you some tips and tricks on how to enter collaborations specifically in the naval defense industry. This is not the only thing we do to support SMEs. We've also had a call for proposals that's closed by now. I know some people here are also participating in this call, and in the future we will also be participating in some international events. So if you are interested in any of those things, please keep contact. We will also try to keep you up to date on the next activities we will be doing with LEVIATAD. But for now, I hope you enjoy this webinar. And yeah, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marie. We want to have some interaction also during this webinar. So it's not only the presenters and the contributors who will give you some information. You can interact on one hand by asking some questions through the chat, that's one thing, but we also want some small input from you. So that's the reason why we have prepared a few simple questions in Mentimeter, and my colleague Grisha will take you through this process of giving the answers to this question. So, Grisha?
Indeed, thank you, Mark, for the introduction. We would very much like to have a certain point in this presentation where we'd like to gather a couple of some feedback from you guys. And indeed, as Mark mentioned, we're going to be using the tool called Mentimeter for this. So I'm just sharing my screen right now, and I would like everybody present right now in our call to use the QR code on their phone to access the Menti presentation, or you can also surf to menti.com and add the code that you can see here on your screen. So I'll give everybody a couple of moments just to do this. You can also use your computer for sure, or use a tablet, but for me it works most easily on the phone. And then I'm going to go to our first very brief question, which is just about what country you guys are from. We would very much like to know where you guys are from, so we know, as Mark already mentioned, who we have around our virtual table. Again, if you're not, if you haven't accessed it yet, you can find the QR code on the left bottom corner of the screen, or you can use menti.com and access the code that you can see right here. So we have a strong concentration here in Belgium, France, and Italy.
No partners from Croatia. Why do we refer to those partners? That is because of the fact that the consortium, the LEVIATAD Consortium, is consisting out of partners from that region. So it's rather logic that we have quite a concentration of those regions involved. I'm quite interested to know and which other region is here referred to. You may put this in the chat so that we know where everybody is coming from. Why are we referring to this region. We will hear two presentations, one from the Belgian Navy, another one from the French Navy. And we are also focusing on interregional collaboration. And that's also the topic of the next webinar. So we have to see how we can collaborate and make this happen, taking into account that we talk about partners from different regions. So yeah, Belgium is quite well represented here, but this does not mean that we do have great quality from the other regions too. But I'm still a little bit surprised and interested in what the other region is. So if you can put it in the chat. Netherlands. Yeah, thank you, Phil. So we also have the Netherlands here on board. Thank you very much for letting us know. So that's the first question. Perhaps Grisha, you can switch to the other one. It's also interesting for the two speakers who will start on to know if there are already people collaborating with the Navy. So to see how well experienced the audience is here. It's like elections, one yes. The yes jumping over the no and vice versa. We do have about 27 people present, so we are having 16 votes. So I think that it's a little bit, to summarize, it's a little bit of 50-50. Yeah? So Jerome and Jan, you will have to do with, on one hand, experienced people in collaborating with the Navy, and on the other hand, you have people who only can think about collaboration with the Navy. So that's a little bit to help you in gaining some insight in the audience. So we will move then to the presentation now from Jan, and then I have to share my screen again. Give me a few moments of time because I have to reopen the presentation. Take some time. I continue. Jan, thank you for this contribution. I give you the floor here, and you can take over the screen.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Do you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jan Gacas, Innovation Officer in the Belgian Navy, and delighted to start just before the French Navy my contribution in this webinar. What I will discuss today is a take of the Belgian Navy on the maritime defense sector. So it's a take, yours truly giving its view on it, and how the digitalization in the maritime sector is evolving. And yes, as sort of a teaser, it's going hard and fast, also in the Belgian defense and the Belgian Navy. But as you can imagine, there are some hurdles on the way. I see on the slide the full map is not depicted here, which is not a problem. But if you would see the original slide, it would be the starting point there below. It would be somewhere in Belgium, going north towards a place at sea, but that's a bit lost in this slide. So it's a bit of a track towards digitalization. And if you take into account the OECD, the definition, digitalization is the use of digital technologies and data, as well as interconnection that results in new or changing activities, and it's transformative. So digitalization is not a fixed point. So it's a road towards a more digitized way. And how I will tackle this presentation, this 50 minutes, is first I want to shed some light on emerging disruptive technologies, as it is a huge challenge for defense forces around the globe, I would say, and the pace. And for sure, there's a very good link between, or a very strong link between, these emerging disruptive technologies and digitalization. Secondly, I want to share some insights. If you deal with the navies, if you deal with the Belgian Navy, how we see things, how we feel things, because it is a bit of a specific, let's say, environment. Afterwards, I'm going to present you with some challenges. What challenges do we have? And there will be surprises in it, but for sure also some typical things which are quite common. And in the end, as requested a few days ago by the LEVIATAD, I will try to shed some light on how we do, quote unquote, innovation. Just for information, as Mark already asked, I'm an innovation officer. But my background is, let's say, operational. I've sailed the whole time until now, and basically this is my first desk job. So if I make any mistakes, it's due to my operational side. And the point of the map I wanted to show is, as you can see, it has a strange curve to the right, upstairs, and to the north, and then the left. And the thing as I wanted to say, but basically it would be having a map. It's not the most logical way to get there, but for sure it would be and have a fun way. But that set aside, without a map is a bit of strange. So the next slides. Here I want to first start on as a starting point, as the challenges we have in defense. It's something I always try to use this framework of the NATO Science and Technology Office, which sketches the evolution of emerging disruptive technologies up to the year 2040. And that are things, these are emerging disruptive technologies, are technologies we have to deal with. And they're going quickly. And as defense forces, we need to adapt to them. Otherwise, and that's something I will discuss in a later stage, we can have some issues. And here on this slide, you can see on the top, let's say on the bottom right, you see an acronym, or you don't see an acronym, you see four terms: intelligence, interconnected, distributed, and digital. And the military, and that's something, if you talk to the military and Navy, we love our acronyms. So I2D2 is an acronym you will often hear when discussing with us. And basically, it's about the interconnectedness of all these new technologies and how they will influence, for sure, and we haven't seen anything yet, the near future. And if you look at them, digitalization is present in all, let's say, domains. And without going too much into detail, the emerging disruptive technologies are something which will influence the way how we work, for sure. And not without, again, not without going to too much detail, I'm quickly going to say them anyway. It's autonomy, quantum, space, hypersonics, biotech, and materials. And they are fueled by AI, for sure, 100%. And they're driven by data, big data, and the analytics of it. And I think it's very difficult to understand how much this will influence all our corporate and operational processes. And it will do it in a way we cannot imagine yet. Just think about how much AI and ChatGPT, in this case particular, has changed the landscape of technology in a few months. And for defenses, it is a question of how quick we are able to adapt to it. Because these are the changes, let's say, the broader challenge, the broader challenges we have as defense, adapt to these new trends. And I for sure can advise you to read the NATO Science and Technology Organization's outlook for the next 20 years, because it sketches a broad idea of how we will evolve in the future. If I go to the next slide, sorry, because I have the control in this case. Some specifics. Countering all the emerging disruptive technologies. It's a bit atypical compared to industry. The finality of defense is to deliver an effect. And that has been the time delivering an effect in the field has been the time since caveman number 1 had a problem with caveman number 2, or cave women, to be more correct. And since that time, if there was a problem, you needed an effect, and then, you know, some clubbing, you know, with the club started. And that has been since time immemorial. So in defense, we have, or in all defenses around the world, we have developed strategies, grand strategies, operational plans, tactical plans, etc., etc. And all these plans are quite complicated. I just look into the war in Ukraine, how much detail, how much planning goes into developing and executing an operational plan. But all these plans have some, let's say, ground rules. And one of the ground rules is, without too far in operational planning processes, one of the ground rules is that our adversary, whomever that may be, yeah, and you can probably imagine some adversaries, they will try to hurt us, hit us, attack us. Where we are the weakest. And the weakest in the broadest sense, it can be a military thing, but also a legal or ethical thing. Imagine, for example, an adversary which will use AI to the fullest, whilst we in, let's say, Western European countries are still limited by the, let's say, ethical considerations we have there. So an adversary will attack us where the weakest. So that means basically, if you look at all the emerging disruptive technologies, we cannot be exceptionally bad in one thing. Via alliances, treaties, we need to try to tackle all these EDTs and be prepared to defend ourselves against all these EDTs. If you talk about the Belgian Navy, and you talk about corporate versus operational and efficiency and effectiveness, it will have an impact. So talking to defense, you have to make sure you're talking to what type of guy or girl, because it will have an impact in how the people see this. So, for example, in Belgian defense, we have an operational mindset once we're sailing. It's incredible. We can do everything. Everything is possible. Talk to that same person a few months later in a corporate setting, you will have another discussion on exactly, and then probably another outcome on exactly the same, let's say, problem you saw presented. And basically, yeah, that person who has a can-do mentality in the beginning probably will have, yeah, a more structured approach on how to solve things when in a corporate setting. And also, efficiency versus effectiveness is something which is changing last years, especially after the situation in the Crimea a few years ago, 2014, where again the balance is shifting again to effectiveness instead of efficiency. Just bearing in mind when talking to the military, it has been shifting from efficiency to effectiveness the last years. The third thing you need to be aware of is acquisition in the military, and probably I will get some questions about it. Acquisition in the military is tough. For the Belgians amongst us, some 25, 30 years ago, we had some huge scandals, and the results of these scandals are still there. Think about the Augusta case, etc., etc. And the result is a very rigid, compartmentalized acquisition system. And it is quite tough to get by that system. So when you're trying to sell products or deliver service to us, do not underestimate the, let's say, workload of this acquisition system and to handle this. And lastly, if talking to the Belgian Navy or defense, priority number one is personnel. And that will not be, let's say, a surprise to anyone, but for sure it is a challenge for us. But then going to the challenges, because I just described some, let's say, talking points. The challenges are depicted here, and there are quite some challenges. However, I think when talking to the Belgian Navy and trying to develop some use cases, you can take these into account, and digitalization has for sure a role to play in all of these challenges. So, for example, the number one of priority of the Belgian Navy is personnel. So we are constantly looking how to use digitalization, for example, in order to smooth our processes in order to shorten the time from, let's say, when a guy or girl signs in our defense force up to when he or she is serving on boards. And digitalization can play a role in the process optimization, let's say the processes, but also, for example, in how we onboard them in our, let's say our organization. The second one we see for sure where digitalization is involved, of course, is securing, protecting our interests in the cyber domain. I mean, that's a given. The third one I mentioned here is we have to go full MVP. MVP, minimal viable products. Why? Because up to now, our acquisition phases are quite lengthy, and we wanted to have the best possible perfect solution. But it's going so fast. Looking at the EDTs, this acquisition process is not able to follow that perfect solution of going to that perfect solution. So I think as a Belgian defense or Belgian Navy, we have to go much more MVP based products. Where digitalization has a role to play, it's transitioning towards unmanned systems. Data is crucial. So yeah, let's say it's a given. For example, can be the automatic flight plans in UASs, for example. That can be digitalized much more as we see or we do now. Sense mating of data, integration, visualization is also a topic where we need to invest in, because I think the explainability and decision making, so decision making when a decision needs to be made by a operational or by a responsible can only be done if the information is sensible and it's visualized in a way decision making is possible. Also afterwards, if we have to say to, let's say, the to give a feedback to the parliament, or for example, we need to be able to explain why we made some sort of a decision, left or right, whatever the direction is. So sense making is for sure a way ahead. And then digitalization, yeah, probably will open the road for, let's say, the full exploitation of digital twins. There we can see a lot of advantages, and digitalization has a role to play. And I still have, I think, 1 minute. I'm looking at my clock here. So I will go to the innovation parts. That's the next slide, sorry. How we do innovation, we have, let's say, several pillars. We have to reinforce the research and development. We have the DEFRA calls, which are the defense-related calls to action. We have collaborative research in an international setting. We are setting up some local ecosystems, but I want to emphasize the facilitation of the short cycle innovation. That's a word twister. Why? Because I think actually a few months ago, we have set up a 4-year contract with the Belgian Consortium to help out our innovation, let's say, service or innovation efforts with a specific aim and specific focus on short cycle innovation. And as we speak, we are setting up a whole system, let's say, building blocks to get that system let's say that contract running, so that we can incorporate more short cycle innovation as we do now. Some last words on it. Yes, how we worked until now, we always worked with proof of concepts. Proof of concepts set around a certain domain in order to learn from it. However, as I said before, the acquisition process is quite lengthy and cumbersome. So if we do a proof of concept, we identify key user requirements. There's always a discussion how to get from that key user requirements to a formal acquisition process to the final acquisition of let's say, a product of a service. And in this case, of course, we are bound by the legislation, where after a certain project is tendered, public tendering, the rules of tendering apply. So after every successful proof of concept, we need to make sure that all interested parties to provide a service or deliver a product have the same information. It's always a challenge for us at this moment. How to go from a product, and so from a proof of concept to a full service contract or a product acquisition. The bridge is quite difficult due to the public tendering rules, and I'm sure I will get some questions about it, but I'm happy to take these later. I see my time is up, so if you have any more questions, I'm available to try to answer them during the Q&A. That's it for me. Mark, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jan, for this very interesting presentation. So as you were referring to the Q&A that will be later on, we immediately shift to Jerome. I'm not sure what happened with the presentation. I have to reload it. One moment here. And in the meantime, if you do have any questions, and I'm sure you do have questions, please put them in the chat so that we can go through it during the Q&A. So, Jerome, I'm not sure if you can take control over the presentation.
No, Mark, unfortunately. So I am connected with my phone, so I cannot go through the slides.
No problem.
No
problem. You can, yeah.
Yes.
No problem. You can just say when we have to click to the next slide. So we show now the first slide.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. So, dear representatives of allies navies, industry or academia, good morning. I am honored to be invited in this webinar to share with you our thoughts about the digitalization and innovation roadmap in my activity, which is dedicated to the maintenance of the Navy. So it will be a concrete presentation about shipyard activity, a bit broader than pure digitalization, and address also more globally how innovation provides military readiness. So I think it will complement very well the presentation of my Belgian colleague. So, as it was said during the introduction, I am the Deputy Director of the Fleet Support Service Command in Toulon, and our role is to ensure the technical availability of our vessels. So we are not an innovation service or a sort of DARPA. We are an operational command providing technical availability of warships for operational readiness. However, we need digitalization and innovation because we identified some fields in which we are clearly behind the curve. So I will try to find the first slide. Okay. So the first area we need to improve is the information management. My organization set the policies of the maintenance, who does what, and we break down maintenance activities in 3 layers. The crew, in charge of the routine maintenance activities at sea and at port, the Navy workshop, in charge of intermediate maintenance activity at port, and the prime contractor industry, in charge of the most complex maintenance activities, typically in dry docks. The complexity of factors contributing to maintenance means that we have a heavy need of digitalization of the planification to keep on track the project milestones, and digitalization of the documentation to keep it accessible to all the actors everywhere. The documentation includes not only the manufacturer file, but also the inventory of spares and all the breakdowns we have suffered and the way we collected them. The need for maintenance management system seems so obvious. I am a bit ashamed to reveal this weakness to you, but it is the #1 priority. For this example, the way we try to catch up is by experimentation with innovative industries to test some proofs of concept or to get minimal variable products. We ordered the development of a maintenance management system, customized our processes to an IT local startup. The second line of effort is data collection, with the ultimate objective of putting in place predictive maintenance. We are not yet there, but we are working on it. We recently installed sensors on board of one class of vessels to monitor temperature, vibration, and other parameters, and we hired students in charge of analyzing correlations between these parameters and failure. The main difficulty that we are facing is the way our military program management is built. Design and production are managed by one administration, and in-service maintenance is managed by another administration, mine. The data collection system is not integrated by design when it is not too expensive. We have to install it afterwards, after commissioning, when it is technically more difficult and expensive. It is clearly an obstacle to large-scale data collection. The second difficulty we are facing is the number of failures. We do not have a real scale effect to apply a statistical approach for predictive maintenance. French Navy equipment do not fail enough. But we understood data is gold, so we mine data, and with time, we'll be able to correlate. The third line of effort is additive manufacturing. It is quite a success story because after a few experimentations, we put in place a capability with spare parts factories on board of our biggest vessels and in our Navy offshore workshop, and we use it during missions. They are not supposed to last like regular parts. We continue to purchase, but they bring a gap filler solution during mission. The main difficulty is to keep configuration management, to know where there is a temporary part we need to replace as soon as possible and avoid a big failure generated by the additive manufacturing part, which was not designed to last. It is a gap filler, and it is very important to keep that in mind. Our partners to this activity are additive manufacturing industry and equipment industry. The fourth line of effort is security in our shipyard, inside the ship during maintenance period. The question is, in case of fire during a dry dock period, how to make sure everyone can exit the vessel. For this problem, our prime contractors share this concern because their responsibility can be engaged and came to us with some ideas. Connected devices on each worker with the possibility of providing message to help going out. It is not so easy because connectivity is not guaranteed inside a warship in a maintenance period, and it could pose also a risk to work. So it's not easy because connectivity is not guaranteed inside a warship in a maintenance period, and it could pose a risk to workers. The device can be considered like a spy. And the last line of effort is the performance of our warships, the performance of our maintenance task. I would like to give you only one example, the cleaning of hull. Up to now, we cleaned the hull completely after 5 years when in dry dock, and only partially cleaned every year during short afloat maintenance period, mostly with divers. Thanks to exchange with innovative companies in conferences and seminars, we identified 2 companies in the business of underwater hull cleaning, which is eco-friendly, diver-free, and cost-effective. We tested during experimentations 2 ROVs, and the results were amazing. After an underwater cleaning on a frigate, the vessel gained 2 knots speed for the same engine power. The main risk for this activity on underwater cleaning is pollution inside the Navy base, and the 2 experimentations gave evidence that the risk is properly contained. Now we are doing some math to check how to make profitable underwater hull cleaning to confirm the business model, and it is promising. In the next 2 slides, you can see some pictures of our innovation activity. So the first slide is about additive manufacturing installed inside the vessels, and the second is afloat hull cleaning. So I know that with these 5 examples, not all of them are related to digitalization, maybe the four first were clearly linked with digitalization, but it gives you also a good understanding on what we need to improve our performance and to give to our sailors the best warships. So in my presentation, I emphasized the innovation project and also the obstacles we are facing. So if in your research activities you think that you can help us to overcome these difficulties, there is clearly a room for collaboration. So Mark, over to you, and I am ready to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Jerome, for your very interesting examples of concrete projects, and perhaps a little bit broader than digitization, but digitalization is just a means to an end, in fact, and the end in your case is organize efficiently and effectively the maintenance of the vessels. That's for sure. We do have now to keep you thinking a short next question in Mentimeter. So I just give before going to the Q&A, Grisha again the floor. So for mainly, I think the people who are already involved in projects with the defense sector, but also from the other ones who want to set up collaboration with the defense sector, it's quite interesting to know what type of main challenges there are, or you envisage, in fact, in setting up this collaboration. So please go back to Menti and give some input there.
Again, if you have lost a connection to Menti, or if you have closed the app, you can always find the QR code here on the screen, or go to menti.com and use the code right there. I see that a lot of you are rejoining our Mentimeter, and then you can give us your input on the question we see right here.
So I read here when you see a few times the same reaction, establishing contact, finding an entry, who you have to talk to, the administrative burden, knowing who to reach out to, besides tenders. So get acquainted. So we know all the Navy sector from, sorry to reduce it to Hollywood and movies, but I think to have access to the real stuff, I think in one way or another we need to be better acquainted. So that's my first very short conclusion. All closed context. So this is perhaps already an interesting topic for the last question at the end of this session. So could an intermediary play a role here, so that we in one way connect the business side with the defense side through an intermediary? But okay, you can continue giving input there, but I want to also go to the chat. And what I recall from the different presentations is that, yeah, it's still an unknown, and it's also referred to in the Mentimeter answers. But in the chat, there's also this question on minimal viable products. And you were referring to minimal viable products, Jan. And what are the requirements? How do you look at minimal viable products, and how does this relate to the added value you want to create? Because out of your presentation, I also understood that somebody in a marine sailing and somebody in the marine on shore are different people, looking at different type of value creations or added value for the different jobs they are coping with. So how do you look at the minimal viable products, and how can they help also in setting up collaboration?
Well, thank you for the question. I think it's a tough question because we're not used to it. As I said, try to say during my explanation, we come from a time where we're very lengthy, and I think it's quite correctly reflected in the responses on the Mentimeter. The procurement phase, the tender procedure is challenging, a lot of administrative burden. So I think we are fully aware of that. So the, let's say, large tendering procedure and the long tendering procedure with all the administrative necessities compared to a long decision-making process to go for option A, B, because we have to adhere to all the rules which are in place and which are quite stringent. Certainly in Belgium, after some scandals, again, 2-3 decades ago. I think the MVP, so the minimal viable products, are a way to quickly go to results whilst... I hear another voice. To go quickly to results in order to make sure that we can make the necessary steps whilst still refining and putting on paper what we exactly want. So I see the MVPs more as an, let's say, an intermediate step, and it should be a continuous process to go to the final. Perhaps, and that's perhaps not always possible, but I think it should be much more, instead of focusing on the end products, the way towards an end product and continuously advancing the product we are using. So much more iterative, instead of going for the full Monty in 2, 3, 4, 5 years time, 10 years time, sometimes. Much more an iterative process, and it's something we're not used to, but step by step we're getting there. And instead of focusing on the, as I said again, on the end product, we try to go to contracts where it's much more of a discoveраtive. We just try to discover together with the person or the company providing the service or the products what we exactly want. So much more in a transformative way. And that's, I think, and every step is the next best thing. So going ahead instead of the endpoint in iterative way. Yeah. That's something I see, of course, with respect with all the procurement and tendering rules. Huh?
Okay. Thanks, Jan. So, Jerome, you were also referring to the MVPs when you were talking about the digitalization of the maintenance documents and the maintenance process. How do you look then at the MVPs? Do you look at it in the same way, or does it different in your reality?
No, for us, it's a solution because in the past we faced the problems that were explained during the two presentations. Very lengthy processes, too complex specifications, and what is interesting in the MVP is a short loop between the users, the developers. So we used these techniques for our maintenance management system. And what is interesting is the way we touched base with this company. So because it's also a question that came a lot of time, how to make the connection. So you could contact us directly, but it's not so easy if you don't take part to this type of webinars. You can use also innovation cluster. So I would like to speak about TVT, so which is a French innovation cluster. In fact, they have all the connection with small companies, innovative companies, and then they come to us with a bunch of projects, and we have a selection committee to take what is good for us because we identified a clear benefit. So I think that the best way to connect with military administrations is to use this type of innovation cluster. So in my business, the French Navy, we use TVT, and then we are able to place toward a contract about MVP. So the MVP they are clearly a game changer because they are short in time, a short loop, a direct loop with benefit with the user, and it's not so expensive. So typically the amount of money that we put in such contract is hundreds of thousands euros and a development of less than 1 year, which was not achievable, this type of performance, with traditional procurement processes. So MVP are the only way to stay agile.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Jerome. So as I understood, this is also a way for as well SMEs as the usual suspects being the large corporates for setting up a first collaboration with you. So those contracts and those calls, I assume, are open to as well small as big companies.
And we clearly prefer to work with small companies. So we don't want to identify these small companies through our prime contractors, because we think there is a conflict of interest. So we trust structures like TVT or other innovation clusters to bring us the good ideas or to generate good ideas. So the ecosystem is the following. Military administration, I represent innovation clusters that bring us ideas that play the role of go-between, and a network of innovating companies that are in touch with innovation clusters.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I look at the chat too, so we can continue with still a few questions. For example, also the question of Steph with regard to metal on the vessels, but I only have the role to take the timing into account, and we can continue discussion later during the last Q&A, but I just want to go back to the presentation and give now the supply side the floor, starting with EBO Enterprises. Sorry, I have to relaunch the presentation again. I don't know what's happening this time with my Teams. I assume that the contact details will also be shared, so which means that you can also have immediate bilateral contacts with everybody here present. So I will give the floor to EBO Enterprises to give their insights on their maritime domain awareness activities.
Hello, good. It's still just good morning, so good morning, everybody. I will try to be very brief because many of the things I will tell you are basically already mentioned before, and I want to give you an overview of what EBO Enterprises is, where we come from, and how we ended up working together with the Belgian Defense and the Navy in particular. And to understand that, and I hope everybody sees this slide change now. We basically have to go back about 20 years, a little bit more than 20 years, when EBO Enterprises started. And EBO started in the corporate world, IT business, so dealing with networking technology mainly. And from that grow the product, which was targeted towards secure content distribution using thin clients. And that caught the eye of security people, so more critical infrastructure type of people. And that's how we kind of merged into government, public safety uses. And eventually, our approach also caught the eyes of the really new business of offshore renewable industry about 10-15 years ago. And that's how we ended up in the maritime world, and that actually also gave us the contacts and the access to start working with defense and the Navy in particular. So it was a whole road of 20 years of growing and accidental contacts and things like that actually brought us into this world. And now we are basically a company of about 25 million euros revenue, dealing with three major elements in our business. We still do a lot of IT and OT, so operational technology systems, but we have divided the world in three big steps, which is basically connecting, securing, and integrating. And on the connection side, we still provide full services for fixed and wireless connectivity, unified communications. That includes also mobile networks up to 5G, which is basically the layer to connect everything. And as you will see later on, that is important in the story. We also have a branch that is dealing with security, that basically emanated from dealing with secure remote access connectivities and giving access to applications on the remote sites in very secure environments, which evolved into cybersecurity offerings. And now we also have, since about 10 years, about application development, where we do a high-end system integration, workflow and decision support systems, and command and control, and in this case for the Navy also an ISR application, so intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance type of application. So we have the people to basically cover this whole range, and that gives us some unique perspectives to be able to talk to people. To give you some ideas of what we make in terms of applications for the renewable industry, it's called Offshare, and it's a control room application that deals with everything related to operational and maintenance support for offshore wind farms mainly. And that's an application that actually creates sort of digital twin. You can see here some examples, where we also deal from the construction phase to the end of life of the system, with all the actions that need to happen and all the monitoring that needs to happen for such an environment, both the monitoring of in production, but also the safety, security of the environment, and the day-to-day activities that happen regarding maintenance and so on. So basically, from that point, we got into contact with defense when they wanted to look for something new for securing the Belgian EEZ, and that's something that will come up. So the rest of the presentation will focus more on connectivity and command and control applications, part of all the stuff that we offer basically. Connectivity important. In order to be able to digitize, you have to be able to get data around. And for instance, what we do here in the Belgian EEZ is offer a network specific and unique for defense, so they can use throughout the whole EEZ make use of that data coverage, which is at the moment still 4.8 G. So we are evolving towards 5G for them. We're not quite there yet. But this is a continuous evolution thing, and this maybe also nicely ties into the previous discussions where we said MVPs and evolution and so on. This is a perfect example where we continue to evolve as the needs grow and change. And that's something that we think is very valuable, which also goes a bit against the static tendering type of process, which does not really help you with that, and they do a magnificent job, our Navy, to try to kind of merge the two incompatible systems together. And this is an example of what we can do then. You can see some coverage and some of the patrol vessels that already make use of that, which gives them, let's say, a good 100 megabits throughout the whole area in terms of connectivity, and that allows them to get faster and better communication, but also bring the applications that normally stay onshore onto the moving platforms at sea, and that's an exciting new perspective, basically, to change the way they are working. Now, the main focal point here was maritime domain awareness. That's basically a concept where you basically go from the left side of the slide all the way to the right side, which is basically going from the reality, the real world, and taking some decisions, strategic, operational, tactical decisions. What we try to do with our offering and working together with the Navy is the middle part, basically turning the reality into some digital version that is a perfect representation of the reality, or as good as possible, and then adding through some steps of managing the data, fusing it, analysis, bring it to the people who have to make the decisions, and do that in a way that supports their decision taking, which of course should result in better and faster decision taking with more efficiency as a bonus, of course. To do that, you can basically see those steps that we take here as initially situational awareness, adding some intelligence layer, and then doing some what we call incident management, which is a specific application for ISR, to have standard operating procedures that allows people to do their job supported by the system. To give you some idea of that, here you see just a map of the Belgian EEZ with all the ships, and the ships are colored in different colors, basically identifying their the risk pattern that they have, behavior, or previous things that the system kind of collects, and they are collecting, in the end, we hope, up to 27 different data streams that have to come in. And as we get access to them, we are integrating them. At the moment, we have 5 or 6 of those already implemented, and we get an image like that, and then operators can basically tackle an issue or a situation, and get let's say support by the system by telling them what to do, making choices, and then through a workflow back end that allows them basically to take decisions and to be guided. And that's basically, we think, can reduce an average incident handling of which takes easily a couple of hours into maybe half an hour. So that could be a huge improvement there in terms of handling things. To conclude, what are the takeaways of our experience doing all this with defense? I have 4 major ones. First of all, tendering requires experience. We already had it mentioned, but it's also a certain way of doing things that may not always be familiar. And what you need to do is just go for it. You will have to invest people and time in it, more than most SMEs find comfortable initially, and you might fail a couple of times, but through the failure you learn and you evolve, and then it kind of works. You have to also take into account that access to sites or to your solutions is not always easy. So for maintenance purposes and so on, take into account people might need some additional credentials, certifications, You might not have remote access. We are now used to be able to access all our systems remotely with VPN, but if your system lives on a secure environment, then that's not a possibility. So that adds also time, effort, resources that you have to take into account up front when you do business with that, and make sure that you basically also know this up front to take this into account. We also found that there's a lot of factors dealing with delivery of systems in a defense environment, because it's a complex machine, and as an SME you don't always have control over when exactly something will happen. So if your business depends just on that and being able to deliver on time and in full at a certain moment in time, that might not always be the case, and you have to be able to withstand that. Because you have to have other business, other means to cover some additional time that it might take to deliver that, and you should take that into account when working with defense as well. And then finally, and I also have seen that already popping up, is that especially our experience with the Belgian Navy is that they are very open to go into discussion on new ideas. So thought leadership is important in there. That means that you should not be there at the receiving end just waiting until the tender appears and then trying to answer that. There is possibility to go into, let's say, a discussion and to propose ideas and new technology and so on, because let's say that is also not always known within the defense environment what you are thinking of. So you have to be able to voice that and to bring that, and that can open up all kinds of new opportunities. So it's, I think, important to try to be vocal about the ideas, the future that you see as an SME in this world, to also bring that to defense. And if there would be, let's say, forums like this platform to do that, that would be fantastic as well. To be able to do it and create really let's say a community of new ideas to come with solutions for them. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karel, for this testimonial from Belgium and the small Belgian coast, but quite interesting one. So for the audience, please put your questions in the chat so that we can go through them later on. And in between, we go to the next case from France this time, from Ennovia. So I want to give the floor to Ronan Perez from Ennovia. So please, Ronan, take over the screen. You can take control and can switch to your own slides.
Sure. Do you hear me correctly?
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay. And do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect. So hi everybody. To this presentation, let's start with a quick introduction of the company. It's important. So Ennovia was founded in 2007, and what we are doing, it's provide specialized maintenance engineering services in the civil and military sector. So nuclear, energy, waste and water treatment, and also defense. And this is the main objective of this presentation. So we offer operating and maintenance support solution to improve the availability of the customer facility and also reduce the operating cost. Through the year, we have worked in 22 countries in more than 200 projects. And this added value of Ennovia, and to maximize the added value of our services, we use specific and efficient tools such as HIBEM Maximo, which is the reference in asset management, but also QuickBrain, which is a maintenance management software developed by Ennovia and daily used by our teams. So this software QuickBrain now used in the Navy sector for different modules, documentation modules, year structure and inspection, use it digital twin, and this is the objective of the next presentation. So very briefly about the QuickBrain solution. So this is a web application and that's not require installation, so we can easily access thanks to a simple connection, and it's based on the unique data processing functionality, enabling the environment of the piece of equipment to be displayed in just a few clicks. So QuickBrain is mix and combine the documentation management system and the documentation management system and maintenance management system, sorry. And the main objective is to provide a solution to manage and monitor the maintenance activity, corrective and preventive, sure, spare parts, assets register, etc. And in fact, QuickBrain was developed in response of how customer needs for having a simple tool enabled to find the right information quickly and easily. So this is a new approach starting from the bottom to respond to the operator need. So what about using digitaling is QuickBrain. So as we said before during the webinar, use digital twin have some big advantages. So in Ennovia, we are trying to do a realistic digital twin and very linked to the reality of the operator. So in QuickBrain, we can integrate virtual model of physical object. It can be used to simulate the behavior, to better understand how the system works in the real life, and also manage the maintenance. So this digital model can be a 3D model, of course, but not only, because as you know, the 3D model are not always available for the maintenance processes, and especially on for ships built a few years ago. So the main objective is to, that's why QuickBrain can represent the digital twin adapt to the operator environment by integrated interactive diagram, by integrating the 360 view, and this is the power of the software to make some interactivity with all this input data. With a software adapted to its environment, the adoption will be easier for all the users. And after that, they will add some technical data into the software in order to complete the technical referential. And this is the main objective. So the solution and the digital twin could advise the operator to run the system at its best performance and with the lower risk of failure thanks to the maintenance management system. So we believe that this solution is innovative, of course, and currently not available, integrated on board. And this kind of solution and this kind of digital twin, realistic digital twin, could improve the readiness of the vessel. So to resume very quickly how collaboration with the French Navy, we can say that this collaboration did not come out of nowhere. This is just one slide, but in fact, this is the result of 7 years of partnerships with the Navy, but also the MRO companies. So to resume this history and this collaboration, we have identified 4 stages. The first one is the learning, we call that the learning with the first reference, the stage of understanding the processes, the organization, and all the different players. After that, the first proposal and the contracting with the MRO company, initial work with this industrial company, and the response to call for tenders. After that, the experimentation stage, experimentation and proof of concept made on concrete use cases with reduced volume, but very close to the operational needs and on critical systems. And the final stage we call the contracting, but it's more focused on the deploying of the proof of concept we done on the stage number 3. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ronan.
Pleasure.
If you can, again, to the audience, the chat is still open for questions.
Sure.
But we can go through them later on. So I give now the floor to Antonio.
Yeah.
My apologies. Yes. From Italy. So from Belgium over France, we now shift to I assume Italy. So to explain more about Wiit and your solutions you are deploying, amongst others, in the naval sector. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I will share again the slides.
Yes.
One moment. So you can take control, Antonio. So
Yep.
I will click through to your slides.
Okay.
We most likely will go a little bit over time, but we keep it as limited as possible. So let's say that we try to finish 20 to 1 o'clock. So for everybody here sitting in around the table. Yes, Antonio.
Okay. Nice to meet you. My name is Antonio Tedde. I'm a pre-sales team leader in Wiit. First of all, we'll quickly introduce our company. Wiit is an Italian company, premium cloud company. We are main focus on reliability, security, scalability, fully managed services. We are based in Italy and in Germany. We are almost 600 people here. We made 120 million turnover this fiscal year. And we have a lot of infrastructure. We are mainly an infrastructure company. Here I show you our trend in the last years. We started in the mid-90s. 1996, if I remember correctly, and we made a stronger increasing in the Italian market, and then we consolidate our cloud strategy in the Italian market, and after all we developed our European company, acquiring different companies not only in Italy but even in Germany. We are now present in worldwide, so we have customers located in the 5 continents. And we are increasing our business, as you can see here. We have 20 data centers completely managed by us. We have certified Tier 4 data centers in Italy and in Germany. And through these data centers, we provide our solutions in cloud and cybersecurity environments. We are acquiring some other companies in Europe. We are working in other countries, and in the next months we will make our communication about this new acquirement. Our strategy is to become the first private cloud provider in Europe in the next years. We defined our strategy using different zones. So we have a premium zone in which we can provide all the pillar of our solutions. Standard zone related to the most common solution, and a DR zone in which we provide only disaster recovery solutions, depending on which is the requirements of our customers. Our approach is a multi-cloud model, so we provide a tailor-made solution for our customers. Our customers could be anyone in private and public sector, in defense or military sector. No matter, we have all the certification to provide the best solution for the public sector. We worked today with the Italian government, for example, and we work with the military sector, the very big company worldwide. So we have all the credential, all the certification to be able to provide solution for them. Our main pillars are cybersecurity and cloud solutions, and we work with managed services. So we analyze the requirements of a customer and we provide the best solution. Sometimes we collaborate with other companies because we are not focused on solution, software solution. We provide infrastructure model. So, for example, company like Ennovia or Ibo could provide their software solution using our data center, our infrastructure. Which are the main challenges today in the naval market? Secure data, the first of all. We need to have a secure storage and secure backup. In our data center or located in Europe, we guarantee the maximum level of security because the data are encrypted and backuped in a different zone. So they have a very high level of reliability. We trust communication using the best in breed cybersecurity solutions, and the exchange of data between data center and sites, main sites of our customer are trusted with our cyber solutions. We provide disaster recovery and backup as a service solution to replicate data from different sites. We make a real-time detection of the environment using our competencies, and we make a proactive analysis with our monitoring and SOC solution. Now we have a staff of analysts who works 24 days to analyze and provide proactive monitoring to prevent issues. Data security is the main focus of our business today. Which are the main threats we are facing on? Mainly the ransomware, power outage related to big data, as I told our colleagues before my interview. Natural disaster. So we have to provide solutions to our partner, to our customer, to face with those problems. Ransomware now is the first cause of data breach. We have to provide technology and competence to prevent these problems. Power outage is a consequence of big data, so we have to provide the high availability of powers, capacity, in order to be able to not break our business. We approach this kind of proposal using our cybersecurity footprint that is based on technological platforms and competencies platforms, as I told you before. So we have a cyber strategy in order to analyze periodically what are the main focus of our customers, and propose a new solution every day, every month, every year, to keep the security at the best level, because the security today will not be the same in the future. So we have to replicate periodically our analysis. As we how we do this kind of an analysis and proposal, making a continuous action related to protection, detection, remediation, and compliance and auditing, using our tools, our competencies, using the infrastructure, the best solution, technological solution we can find in the market, and providing you our competencies and our solution using these technologies. So, for example, file encryption, solution related to the identities, to the monitoring of environments, to the prevention of malware, firewalling, and all the technologies that today we need to improve. Identity of the user is the main focus, because we have to trust a user when he needs to access to data, even if he is in the office, on the vessel, or walking and moving from sites. We have to prevent the stolen of identity. Our competence center is working 24 hours a day on preventing and on issues, and working with the specific technologies in order to suggest new coverage, new solution to prevent the future malware. We work on network, vulnerability management, endpoint, identity, message security, and we have a lot of technology. I don't want to bore you with the list of technology. Here I show you some of the most important technology we are now using, and which we are certified, and on the process we use to implement our own. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. Gives a good overview of your services related to cybersecurity. I wanted to ask you the same questions which was asked by Evelyn in the chat. So when you access the defense sector, what should you do first? Ronan answered already in the chat. Understanding the process, the organization, and the people involved. Do you have other ideas on how to approach, in fact, let's say a complex environment such as a naval defense environment?
First of all, we need to identify which are the main actors involved in the project. For example, if we are talking with people who need to store data, we will propose them a solution related to these kind of requirements. If we are talking with people who moves from different areas, need to talk with extra with people in other countries, we have to trust communication. So depending on which are the focus of the engagement, these are the main focus, the main challenge we focus on. And the second is to understand the competence of the people we are talking with, because we know we can speak in high level, as I made today, or we can get in deep in the technology requirements, depending on the if we needed to get in deep with the people who can speak our languages. So these are the main challenges in our perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. I would have asked the same question to Karel too, but Karel just left the meeting due to other commitments. But this brings us also to this last question, because understanding people, getting insight in the defense sector, and so on. So the question which we will now ask on Mentimeter is, how can let's say a pan-European cluster of organizations such as LEVIATAD, an intermediary, how can it be supportive in developing this collaboration between naval defense stakeholders, technology providers? We can broaden it up, academic institutions. So what type of support services can be organized or developed by such an organization? I take a little bit the time into account. Yeah, creating links and introduce and information exchange is quite interesting, but if you can also refer a little bit to how to do this in a secure way, because that's important within this this domain, that would also be of interest. So that's one question. International events. Everybody knows perhaps the Paris show, but are there other events which are interesting to liaise between stakeholders in this environment? Yeah, you can still continue in the Menti to give your input. But as said, I take a little bit the timing into account. To be honest, I do have written down a list of about 20 questions, but the time is too short to ask them. So when talking about data security, for example, and seeing Google and Amazon, I can ask myself, is defense putting their data on this type of infrastructure? But that's leading us too far. So I want to look at Marie and Evelien, if you want to give some closing notes with regard to next steps too. I will not show the slides again. I think you can do it just in talking, and then I assumed that we would have seen the Miro still, but the Mentimeter still. But okay. Do you have some information on next steps, or can you emphasize a little bit what we can do next?
Yes, so as I said in the beginning, we still have a webinar next week on cross-border collaboration. So you're all very much welcome to join that webinar as well. And since one of the questions that came up in Menti was to go international, that's also one of the steps we are planning to do with LEVIATAD. So if you are interested in going international and presenting yourself, there will be an international visit to Quebec in the future. But if you are interested, please keep contact with us, and we will tell you a bit more about that later.
Okay. This leaves me to just thanking you of being here present. So we had in total 24, 29 people present, so, and everybody stayed more or less until the end. So which is, in my opinion, some sign of the interest in the presentations. So thank you very much. I think we combined two very interesting perspectives. On one hand, the demand side being the naval defense sector, and then a small part of the supply side. So I hope with this type of initiative that we can link them, liaise them, bring them together, and develop on, let's say, a safer Europe, to say it like this. So thank you very much for attending this webinar again. And as Marie was saying, please be present next week too. So it would be great to have the full audience again. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very delicious lunch and end of the afternoon, of the day, sorry. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, too. I have